Most of us never stop to ask why certain places feel the way that they do. But one man spent his entire life designing that feeling. Not just buildings, not just landscapes, but experiences. And neighbors, the wild part is, millions of Americans still walk through his ideas every single day without ever knowing his name. Today, we're talking about Frederick Law Olmsted, the man who taught America how to breathe. By the mid-1800s, America was transforming fast. Factories rising, railroads expanding, cities swelling with people. The country was becoming powerful, but life inside those cities was becoming exhausting. Smoke, noise, crowded streets, very little green space. At the time, many people believed that nature was a luxury, something that only wealthy families could enjoy. If you were working class, you mostly stayed surrounded by brick and noise. Cities were growing and people began searching for relief. Back then, parks were often called the lungs of the city, places where people could recover from the pressure of modern life. And one man became obsessed with the idea that those lungs should belong to everyone. Frederick Law Olmsted didn't look destined to shape America. He tried farming, sailing. He was even a journalist. For years, he looked like a man who was still searching for his purpose. Before designing parks, Olmsted traveled through the American South as a journalist for what would later become the New York Times. And what he witnessed changed him forever. He saw difficult labor, human suffering, land stripped for production, communities under strain. Olmsted became convinced that public spaces mattered, not just for beauty, for dignity, for human health. He believed that ordinary Americans needed places where they could feel human again, not just the wealthy, but everybody. Now here's where the story takes off, because the most famous park in America was designed by a man who never officially designed a park before. In the 1850s, New York City was exploding with growth. Overcrowded streets, constant construction, noise was everywhere, and city leaders knew that something had to change. They launched a massive design competition for what would become Central Park. An architect named Calvert Vaux recruited Olmsted to help him submit a plan called the Greensward Plan. And together, they created something revolutionary. Not just a park, but an escape. Open meadows, curving pathways, bridges, hidden transitions, natural beauty carefully designed to feel untouched. But none of it was an accident. Every path, every tree line, every open space, it was designed to shape emotion. It was also designed to help people slow down, to help people breathe. And this part really matters. Central Park wasn't built for the elites. Olmsted believed that public parks should bring all kinds of people together. The rich, the poor, the immigrants, the lifelong New Yorkers, workers and business owners. At a time when America felt increasingly divided, that idea was very radical. Now, history is complicated too. The land that became Central Park, it wasn't exactly empty. Entire communities were displaced to create it, including a place called Seneca Village. It was a thriving African-American community where many families owned property. That part of the story really matters too, because America's history is often both inspiring and painful all at the same time. I think most people misunderstood Frederick Law Olmsted. He didn't just design parks, but he designed experiences. He understood something America still struggles with today. People need beauty. Not eventually, not after retirement, but they need it right now. And once you realize that, you start recognizing his fingerprints all across our country. One of the greatest examples sits deep in the mountains of North Carolina, the Biltmore Estate. Most people travel to the Biltmore and focus on the mansion itself. And honestly, it's breathtaking. But Frederick Law Olmsted saw something bigger. When George Vanderbilt purchased the land, much of it had already been heavily logged and overfarmed. The soil was depleted, the hillsides were eroding, but Vanderbilt imagined a giant landscaped park. But Olmsted pushed him towards something entirely different. forestry, not just decoration. But Olmsted wanted to focus on restoration. Biltmore became home to the first professionally managed forest in America. Olmsted even brought in a young forester named Gifford Pinchot, who would later become the first head of the United States Forest Service. That means Biltmore wasn't just a beautiful estate. It helped launch American scientific forestry itself. And this is where Olmsted's genius really shows up, because he didn't just design what people would see, he designed what they would feel. Even the famous approach road at Biltmore was very intentional. That long, winding drive through dense forest, where the estate stays hidden until the very last moment, yeah, he designed that as a sensory transition, a gradual separation from the outside world. So when the house finally appears, it feels almost unreal. It feels like a storybook, almost like a revelation. I recently walked through the Biltmore Estate and all of its beautiful gardens, and you can still feel it today. The place slows your mind down before you even realize that it's happening. And the deeper you look at Olmsted's work, the more you realize that he wasn't just designing scenery, he was designing an emotional experience. After Central Park, Olmsted's ideas were spread everywhere. Prospect Park in Brooklyn, Boston's beautiful emerald necklace, the grounds of the United States Capitol. And in 1865, he wrote an influential report about Yosemite that helped shape the entire philosophy behind America's national parks. Olmsted argued that beautiful natural places should be protected by the government, not for the wealthy, but for everyone. And that idea would echo throughout American conservation for many generations. But the story didn't end with Frederick Law Olmsted himself. As he grew older, his sons carried the work forward through the Olmsted Brothers firm. And their fingerprints, yeah, they spread across America too. Even places like Bernheim Forest in Kentucky. Isaac Bernheim hired the Olmsted brothers to help shape the arboretum and the park decades after Olmsted Sr. passed away. So even there, you're still walking through the continuation of his vision. A few months ago, I recently walked through Bernheim Forest in Kentucky myself, and you know, it hit me. Most people have no idea that they're experiencing a philosophy that started over 150 years ago. One man believed that nature could restore people, and somehow, that idea, it's still alive today. Think about that for a second. Millions of people have fallen in love, walked with family, grieved quietly, sat alone after hard days, right inside the spaces shaped by Olmsted's ideas. Most never even knew his name, but they felt his work. And maybe that's what real legacy looks like, creating something that keeps helping people long after you're gone. Frederick Law Olmsted, he didn't become president, he didn't command armies, he didn't build skyscrapers. He simply believed that America needed places where people could breathe, places where ordinary people could feel peace, wonder, and perspective. And because one man believed that, America looks radically different today. And generations later, we're still here talking about it, and we're still walking through those legacies. Hey y'all, the stories are out there. Let's go find them together. I hope you have a great day, and I look forward to talking with you again soon. Bye y'all.